And then we are back with more information regarding the Holy Scriptures and what it means these days, and the huge changing coming in the near future. And the world obviously won't be the same as it was before. There are lots of situations going on. Our country is definitely ruining itself. It is kind of understandable from the revelation. A person should understand what it means, and we should encourage the Hebrew brothers to return to their camps. Revelation 20th chapter, 9th verse states, "And they then went in the breadth of the earth, everywhere in the earth, and they encircled the camps of the set apart and also the holy city." This is what is coming in the future. It won't take very long because there are signs of the prophecy. And the prophecy states regarding the timing, the season, and also the autumn feast yet coming. These days people are very ignorant, unfortunately, of the feasts of the Hebrews. Those they had prophetic shadows in the future. The first portion was completed by Yahshua, was the spring feast. Then this is found in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and then from the 1st to the 21st verse, that's the spring feast, was the actual feast done every year for more than 1,000 years. Okay, these feasts would be then completed by Yahshua. Yeshua as the Son would complete the first portion. Then there was a gap. That's why in the 22nd verse of the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, it states then not to cut the corners of the field. That was the time when the Gentiles would be in charge of the planet. This time has ended, but it's very the end of it. It's a time of transition. There is the ending part of it, and then there is the transitional part of it. 23rd chapter of Leviticus, 22nd verse. The entire Megillah, or the writings of Ruth, is dedicated to the Leviticus 23rd chapter, 22nd verse. The complete Megillah of Ruth is in dedication of the 22nd verse of the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. People, they must start understanding the scriptures as layers, not actual writing only. The mind of the pagan works in bits and pieces, in plain understanding, plain factor level ground. In Hebrew is not. There are layers of understanding, and they are on top of each other. They are based upon factors of shadows. And the pagans are stupid. They don't understand. They were not born with a holy language in them. They were born in confusion. Biblical wise, pagans are stupid. You must understand, when Shaul mentioned in Romans, said renewing your mind with the Word. The Word was the Torah. He meant renew your mind, renew yourselves by visiting at the gate often and receive the teachings of the Torah, the instructions. People get sometimes upset because the word of Torah, they get afraid of it. Instructions, this is what it means. So they would be instructed in the understanding of the holy language. This is what Shaul meant. There was no Metityahu, no Luke, no Mark during that time. They had only the Torah and the instructions. So be instructed often in your mind. So then, speaking of the feasts, the first 490 days of the ministry of Yahshua as the Son, Yahweh Yeshua, the Son came to do his part regarding the feasts. Then was the 22nd verse, couple thousand years. We are in a time of a transition from these couple thousand years ended, from the time of the birth of the king, and then also from the 1,000 years related with his people that would rule from the time of his ascension and then up to 1009, when the Holy Sepulchre was then destroyed. The world made a declaration that they do not want anymore anything to do with the Messiah. They decided to make this world their own kingdom. Then Satan went to prison. There was no reason for Satan to be in the world anymore. He couldn't test anybody else. What is the function of Satan in the world? He has a function. Do people understand his function? Is to test the people. What did he do to Yahshua when he was in the desert? Yahshua was tested. That's his function. He's not only this evil, mean being around the world going to and fro. He has a purpose. His purpose is to test the people of Elohim, of Yahweh. Then when he was in charge of the nearing line, he lost his purpose. Because no person in the world anymore wanted anything to do with the Messiah. This is what was interpreted by destroying the Holy Sepulchre. He lost his function. So he got stuck in the nearing line, deceiving the people by their own choices. They wanted to be deceived. Do they understand then the prison? They wanted to be deceived, so be it. When you die, go to the straight down to the first death. Is that what you want? Yeah, this is what they wanted. This is precisely what's going on. Churches outside of the camp, they don't exist. They wanting to do iniquity, and this is what they are doing. So after death, then they enjoy themselves and this condemn the world and go straight down. So then the transition time that we are living in, at the very, very, very end of a certain area of the scriptures and transition into the other. This is what is going on. It's a transition of time, biblical time. Read the scriptures. Understand the times and the seasons. People are thinking that the earth is going to rejuvenate itself. It's being stupid. It's not. It's going to be destroyed. Watch the signs and the weather, what's going on with the weather. It's not going to be reversed. It's going to be destroyed. Understand the principle. So then what's coming then is the vengeance, is the autumn feast. The other 490 days, that is the shadow of understanding of the first. The first half of the instructions and a half of the prophets was the spring feast. The Savior did it himself. So then he could launch his people in groups, forming holy lands around the world and rescuing then the Gentiles. Then the other half of the instructions, half of the prophets, would be the vengeance, autumn feast, and the sound of the shofar. Then that's when he's coming in autumn. People don't understand the factors. They are kind of floating around. It's truly crazy. People have no basis, biblical basis. And there is plenty of understanding in the scriptures. And they are adopting these demonic African customs, using witches. It's destroying the country. What was the penalty of a person of naming a witch back in the old days? It was death. And people, they use it in their own languages, and they are guided by witches, and the penalty back then was death. And they expected to be saved? Satan is in prison yet. He's releasing himself from it, but he's yet in prison. And the prison means false religion. And the Hebrews are not in their camps as they should have. Revelation, the 20th chapter. What does it mean, Revelation? The autumn feast. It is the record of the future into the autumn feast. But then pagans, they are stupid. They don't understand. They observe only in flat level. Flat understandings. What this means, and it is flat. What this other part means, oh, this is flat. What the part means, the other part is, then it is flat. Then they try to put together as a game where they are interrelated, and then there are layers, and they are working together in the same level. But then they try to put these on a table, so to speak, and try to match it as they were playing a game. That's stupidity. It doesn't fit the biblical understanding. That's why Shaul so many times he said, having your senses exercised. Senses are the many names of the Creator. Yahweh Gibor, and then Yahweh Nisi, Yahweh Rapha. Those names, each of those names refers to a sense in the Hebrew language, a sense. It was the presence of the Creator in a certain area of understanding. For the pagans, it's only a name because they can't exercise it. That's why Shaul mentioned, then renew your minds with the Word, meant the instructions in Hebrew. So they themselves then would be used to the hearing the holy language, and then someday they would be so used to it, and then Ruach HaKodesh would say, take this person and place in a camp for further training, to form another group. And then it would save the other guys on the other side. Goyim or Gentiles. So we must stop with this understanding of flat. Everything's flat. Flat understanding. Read and then place it on a corner. Oh, these must be first, and then these second, and these third. No, that's pagan. That's pagan viewpoint of what it is. They are layers. Comes in the first layer and the second on top of it, and they are intertwined. Not only intertwined with each other, then they also have a relation with the shadow prophetic understandings from the first. That's why people don't understand the revelation, because they are trying to do it separate when it's not. They are layers of understanding of each other. But then Shaul mentioned at the end of times, sound doctrine, they would not be able to hear it, because they are seared. They are seared with evil, and they don't take the time to study and be more familiar with the Hebraic understanding. In the Hebraic understanding, there are 5 senses of the body. A person can visualize. Visualize means observance from the eyes. A person observes, and then a person senses from the touch, and then the rest of making it 5 senses. Then odor, and then taste. Whatsoever is not part of these 5, then it's not Hebraic. The foundation of understanding of the scriptures has to do with these 5 senses. The rest is abstract, taught by pagans. Then they manipulated the scriptures from the 5 senses into abstractism. Abstract. Love is abstract, doesn't exist. What it does exist is the encouragement of staying on a path. What is a path? Don't you have to put then your shoe on a path? Does it not touch your body? Touching. You walk on a path. The rest of it is abstract. Love is abstract. It's a form of trying to make compensation for the sin. demonic interpretation. You don't love a person, you encourage the person to stay on the path previously set. As a result of the obedience, nourishment comes. So there is no flat understanding of bits and pieces of the scriptures and then trying to put together as a game. There is pagan understanding. In Hebraic understanding, there are layers of understanding, and then they interrelated with each other in the same level most of the time. And then obviously they are backed up by shadow prophetic understandings of the first. This is a form of protection from paganism. That's why we have so many denominations in our country, because they don't understand the principle. They want to pick and choose whatever they want. And it never works, does it? Ask them, what is your gifting in your church? There it is. They get caught. They don't have any functioning in their own giftings. They're going around blind, leading the blind, as the other situation going on with the pastor over there, trying to explain a situation regarding the original plan based upon consequences, and then makes no sense. What does it mean, the judgment of the church? Oh, it refers to the temple. The time of Yahshua, the temple. No. That was the normal consequence of a broken covenant. The main situation is the broken covenant. So then the autumn feast coming, it's going to be related with the revelation. 490 days of judgment, vengeance. Those big numbers, 1,000 years of rule with his people, that's gone from the time of his ascension. Because there are layers of understanding. Layers, 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 layers. Before then the final push of the very last time comes the reminder of where Yahshua came from. And there was the virgin, and then there was the star, and there was the Betula. Do you understand? Before the very final understanding of the judgment, then comes the reminder where he came from. There are layers, 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 layers. So then when Shimon explains what does it mean then, discipline coming upon the house of Elohim for not maintaining the covenant with Abraham. This is what it means. It's simple and plain. Has nothing to do with the temple, has nothing to do with Ezekiel, nothing to do with the past. Has to do with a broken covenant. Plain and simple. So then, encouraging the Hebrew brothers to return to their camps or their lands, their demarked lands, so then they can be loyal to the covenant. Started with Abraham, and then afterwards came Moses, and then Yahshua. And Yahshua simply relayed the information back to them where they came from. Whatsoever Moses said for you to do and observe, these do and observe. And then he also pointed out the covenant with Abraham. That's what it means, discipline. Because the Israelites are not doing their job. They should be in camps, obeying what Moses said to do, except the sacrifices of animals. And Yahshua then in the Kadosh Kadoshim being ministered day and night as they used to do in the past. It never changed. But this factor is not for the world to be concerned with. And this is what is so confusing for some people. The Goyim, the people outside of the camps, they are not part of it. That's why they are the set apart. I mean, don't stick your nose in their own trade, so to speak. Let them deal with it. It's their covenant. We live by faith in what Yahshua said, and we wait for then the teachers, they come from their camps. We wait at the gate. That's it. That's our part. Wait at the gate. Comes the famous understanding. Oh, they are waiting. Sure, they are waiting for the teachers to come out of their camps.